So it's Sunday morning and I'm recording something. Again, since it's daytime, please excuse any potential noise. Actually, the train passed around it, like 2 minutes ago. So hopefully that means there won't be another one for the next few minutes while I'm doing this. So um, I'm wearing the jacket again today, not because it's cold, although it is relatively cold, but because I haven't gotten out of my sleeping clothes and it's a sleeveless shirt. So, on a side note, this jacket is actually my 13th month pay jacket. So, the first time I got 13th month pay, we were in Singapore, as I mentioned, and then I saw this at an Adidas store and then I bought it. Um, yeah, I don't know how many times I've worn it, but it has a lot of sentimental value. Okay, so yesterday I talked about my three of my favorite movies. So Empire Strikes Back, My Sassy Girl Korean, and You've Got Mail. And when I was going over the video again, because I go through it at least once, I realized that I might not have been as personal about why I like the movie. And well, to be fair, someone else pointed that out. So I decided to try to take a deeper dive into the movie You've Got Mail. So again, You've Got Mail. I watched it in '98, but I didn't see it until 2001, and I I don't know if it was immediately one of my favorite movies or if it happened as I kept on watching it. So You've Got Mail. It's one of those that whenever I see it showing on cable TV, whether it's HBO or any other channel, even if I catch it in the middle or towards the end, I try to watch as much of it as I possibly can, depending on if I'm busy or not. So whether it's just for a few minutes or if I end up watching whatever's left until the end, that's usually what I go for. And um, I think yesterday I was being a little careful because I was trying to avoid any spoilers, but it also occurred to me the movie is from 1998. It's already 2021 or 2021. So if you're seeing this, I hope you've already watched the movie because there's no point avoiding any spoilers. And as I mentioned, it's a romantic comedy. Obviously, you know that it's going to have a happy ending. But if you haven't, the basic plot of the movie is Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, they communicate with each other through email, and coincidentally, they both live in New York. And again, by coincidence, they're in the same. They have the same type of business, which is a bookstore. So Tom Hanks or Joe Fox has a big bookstore called Fox Books, and Meg Ryan or Kathleen Kelly has a small bookstore called Shop Around the Corner. And the small bookstores like hers and the other ones throughout the city are not happy with Fox bookstores coming in to New York because it's gonna put their businesses out onto the street. So they'll have to close. Um, so Meg Ryan doesn't like Tom Hanks, and of course Tom Hanks just sees her as competition. But they don't. They just, without them knowing, they're actually also friends on the internet. So they're emailing each other, but because of their setup, they decide not to share anything personal about themselves. So it's really just a friendship kind of thing because they're each in relationships and all that. Of course, since it's a romantic comedy, somewhere along the way they fall in love, maybe without them realizing it, and Tom Hanks finds out like midway through the movie that the one he's talking to this entire time has actually been Meg Ryan. But because he already likes her so much, even if he realizes that they don't get along in real life, when it comes to emails, they're perfectly fine. And that's when he says that it's a project that needs a little tweaking when they're talking. So to cut a long story short, in the end, they end up together when Meg Ryan finally finds out that the person she's fallen in love with online is the same person that she's fallen in love with in person. So, Tom Hanks. Okay, so what are the reasons I like this movie? So if I were to go with the shallow reasons, um, if you know me, you know that I don't like to travel. I don't like airplanes because I have motion sickness and I have a fear of flying. But because of this movie and other shows like Friends, Gossip Girl, and other New York based shows, I've somehow fallen in love with the idea that media presents of New York, right? So even if I don't like planes, there's that dream of someday being able to visit New York. And part of that list of things to do in New York is going to that park at the end of You've Got Mail. Because at the end, there's this epic reveal that, oh my god, it's actually Tom Hanks. And a few months ago, a friend of mine told me that that park isn't real. And to be honest, I had a panic attack. Well, not panic attack, but I panicked. So I Googled it right away, and it said that the park is actually a real place. Whether it still looks like that or not, I don't know. But, I'd still like the chance to get to visit it someday, right? So that's one of the shallow reasons why I like the movie. I love the setting, so I want to visit New York. And then another one, I guess you can still call it a little shallow, is because there's this one scene on the day that Tom Hanks meets Meg Ryan. He goes out with some of his family members, so his nephew and his niece. Oh, aunt. Anyway, it's a complicated family relationship, but there are two kids who are his family members, and they go out to like a weekend market. And because of that movie, I started to enjoy going to weekend markets. So before the pandemic, I always, not always, but whenever I'd be in Makati on a weekend, Saturday or Sunday, if there's time, I visit Salcedo or Legazpi Market. And whenever I'm there, I always think of You've Got Mail in that scene when they're at the weekend market. The weird thing is, whenever I go to these two markets on Saturdays and or Sundays, I love to walk around and I love seeing everything there. But because I'm a creature of habit, I always buy the same thing. It's like I don't even think about it anymore. I just pretend that I'm looking around for something new, but in my head I already have like a short list of things I'm gonna buy. And when I go to those two places, the dessert I always end up with is Piccole, which is the company I work with. So it's weird, right? You go there, you look for something new, and then you end up with things that you already have at home. Because I have Piccole stocked at home, but when I go to Salcedo or Legazpi Market, it's still the last thing I buy as I walk out. It's weird, right? Now, so anyway, so there. That's the shallow reasons. Those are the shallow reasons. And so why do we like movies in general? So we like movies because they entertain us, and at the same time, maybe we can relate to some of them on a certain level. So I'm not saying the story of Empire Strikes Back and Rogue One is shallow, but I love it for the entertainment value. Okay, how when you see it, you're like, oh my god, that is amazing. That looks cool. Yes, they do have good stories, but You've Got Mail is different. Okay, because You've Got Mail, although it is very entertaining, what you like about it are the characters and the things that they go through or the lines that they say, because you can somehow relate to them. So I decided to talk about some of my favorite lines from the movie. If Okay, I don't remember the exact quotes, so we'll just go through the idea behind the line, but this is how I remember them. Okay, so You've Got Mail, as I mentioned, I was high school when I first saw it. So yes, I was high school in 2001. When you first see it, maybe you like it for a shallow reason. So I was a Tom Hanks fan. I still am a Tom Hanks fan. So I first watched him in Big, And then I also liked him in Philadelphia, although that's a very serious movie. Apollo 13, Toy Story. Of course, I do not know in what order I watched those things. Okay, but You've Got Mail, I really liked it. And when you're younger and maybe you have a little less life experiences, you don't relate to certain situations in the movie as much as you do when you turn 30s or even in your late 20s and then you rewatch it. But I think that's true for a lot of different movies and a lot of different shows. Like, let's say Friends. When you watch Friends as a kid, because I did start watching Friends when I was in elementary school, a lot of the jokes flew over my head, or I could not understand a lot of the real life situations that they were in. So even when I was in high school, even when I was in college and Friends was still going on, you like it because you think it's funny. But when you watch it when you're in your late 20s or early 30s, when you're at the same age as the characters, it changes. You start seeing it differently. You start to appreciate the characters a little more. And I think it's the same with You've Got Mail. When you watch it when you're younger, it's funny, it's very entertaining. But when you're a little older, there are some things that stand out a lot more for you. So again, You've Got Mail, Big Bad Bookstore. Tom Hanks's right hand man is actually Dave Chappelle. So I don't. No, no, no. That was not his big break. I think his first. Oh, okay. I don't know. But prior to that, he was in Robin Hood Men in Tights, and he's mainly known for doing his stand-up comedy. So going back, so the Big Bad Bookstore with its cheap books and good coffee. I guess it's like fully booked or Power Books when Power Books was new. Although Power Books didn't have coffee. Okay, so they put out the small businesses. I mean, they put them out of business. Okay, so there's this scene where Meg Ryan is talking to Birdie. Birdie is a staff member who also happened to be the friend of Meg Ryan's mom. So when Meg Ryan's mom passed away, Meg Ryan took over the business, and Birdie was still part of her staff. So they're having, I don't know, afternoon tea or tea. Basically, they were having a snack at Birdie's place, and then Birdie asks Meg Ryan what she decided to do, and Meg Ryan says she's decided to close because the Big Bad Bookstore or Fox Books is just too much competition, and it's affected their sales. So Birdie says closing is the brave thing to do. And Meg Ryan thinks, oh, you're just saying that. Like, she thinks Birdie doesn't actually mean it. Like, she's just saying it to comfort her. And then Birdie says something like, no, you're daring to think that you can have a different life. Something like that. And you're putting yourself out there into the world again. So that's the idea of the line. Again, I'm so sorry if I do not know the exact wording, but that's the idea. You're daring to dream that you could have a different life. When you're younger, maybe you don't appreciate how good that line is as much. But when you've gone through the ups and downs of life after college, it starts to take on a different meaning. So I wouldn't say I'm the best when it comes to my professional life. You know, of course, I've had my ups and downs, and whether it's work or other things that you work on that don't pan out, there's of course a certain level of fear, like what happens next. A lot of uncertainty, and of course, you start thinking things that maybe you're not good enough or whatever. And that line, of course, it offers some sort of positive outlook on life. So maybe things don't work out for you, and that's happened to me a few times, but there's that hope that things could get better, that maybe what you thought was gonna happen, it may not have happened, but there could be something better. So you could have a different life than what you imagined, whether it's work or relationship or anything else, right? So it's a good it's a good outlook to have, or it's a good attitude to have. Okay, so there's this other line. Again, it's Greg Kinnear plays the boyfriend of Meg Ryan for part of the movie, because of course they have to break up so that Tom Hanks can um, get the girl, right? So they have a breakup scene, and Meg Ryan and Greg Kinnear, they say that we're perfect for each other, but they realize that they just aren't in love. So Meg Ryan asks Greg Kinnear, "Is there someone else?" And then Greg Kinnear says, "Oh, I met someone interesting." Although that is not the reason that they broke up, but they just realized. Greg Kinnear realizes he's not in love with her, and Meg Ryan says, "You know what? Me too." Whatever. And then Greg Kinnear asks Meg Ryan, "What about you? Is there someone else?" And then Meg Ryan says, "No, but there's the dream of someone else." So again, I guess it's similar to what Birdie said. You've gone through some hardship, but when you get to the other side, or after it, you think that, well, there might be someone else, or there might be something, other opportunities out there. And again, since I watched it when I was in high school, it was a good line back then. Even then, it was a good line. Even when I was in first few years of college, it was a good line. But I guess when you've had some real life experiences, when you've had your heart broken a few times, and you've gone through those personal relationship difficulties, you appreciate that line. Because, of course, when you get your heart broken, so let's be real, it does happen, and I'm sure it's happened to a lot of other people. Sometimes it feels like, ugh, my world is ending. Sorry. Oh god, that sounded really gross. But that is the actual feeling, right? My world is ending. Oh my god, I can't believe that this happened, whatever. And at some point, you just learn to pick yourself back up, and you think, that could be someone else. And then maybe if you meet that someone else, you're like, oh, yeah, I can be happy again. So yeah, so I don't want to get into detail about that, but that's a basic idea. When you get older and you've gone through some experiences, those two lines, they mean something different. Okay, so another thing I liked about the character of Tom Hanks is I feel like he's a very thoughtful guy. Okay, so there's a scene, Meg Ryan gets sick, he drops by, and this is after he put her out of business. He drops by and he brings her, I don't know, soup. I'm assuming it's chicken soup, because I think she had the flu, and that's a normal thing that these movies or shows, you give a person with the flu. Although, of course, at home when I'm sick, my mom makes tinola, so I guess that's the equivalent. Okay, so I feel like that was a very thoughtful thing to do. And then there's this one line when they're exchanging emails, and Tom Hanks says something like, "Don't you love New York in the fall? It makes me want to buy school supplies. I'd send you a bouquet of newly sharpened pencils if I knew your name and your address." Because again, they're keeping out personal information about each other. And I really like that, because, to be honest, I might not be the sweetest or the best when it comes to giving gifts. So obviously, I'm talking about mainly in the context of relationships, or maybe in general. I don't know. I feel like I'm bad at giving gifts, but he's a thoughtful guy, and I feel like that whole thing where you want to take care of the girl, or you want to take care of someone when they're going through a rough patch, I feel like that's very relatable. Although at the same time, I feel like it's the most basic human instinct to to want to take care of someone when they're sick. But I don't know. I always thought that was thoughtful, and I've always liked the idea of giving someone a bouquet of newly sharpened pencils, mainly because of that line from the movie. On a side note, I've actually never given a girl flowers. I've only bought flowers once, yeah, for a girl, but it wasn't me giving it to her. A friend had asked me, or I offered to help a friend of mine buy flowers for his girlfriend because he was in the US and he wanted to do something nice for her. And for many years, she did not know that I was the one that dropped it off for her. But that is the one and only time I've ever bought flowers. I think I can learn eventually if I have to, but I guess I've just never been in a position to do it. So to all the girls who might watch this, in case I do post this, please do not judge me. Guys are just all different when it comes to giving gifts. So there. So those are some of the things I liked about that movie. So again, I feel like it's very relatable. I'm sure there are other lines that I liked in the movie, although right now I can't think of it. But yeah, so You've Got Mail. It's a very beautiful movie. So if you haven't seen it, please watch it. Oh wait, sorry, there's one more thing. The most important thing that I like about You've Got Mail is the way they talk to each other. So yes, Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, they do see each other in person, but without Meg Ryan realizing that Tom Hanks is the guy she's been emailing with. And I like the idea that they're communicating with each other through email. And it goes back to that line I mentioned yesterday. I think I mentioned it yesterday, but in case I didn't, where she says that the funny thing about this type of communication is you're more likely to talk about nothing than something. But I want to let you know that all of these nothings mean a lot more to me than a lot of somethings. Something, okay, it's along those lines. Again, please do not murder me if I got the line wrong, but that was the idea of a line. And I like it because, of course, we live in a world where a lot of us communicate mainly through messages. Okay, part of it, of course, is the pandemic, but it feels like we're a lot braver when we can hide behind the screen. And also, people communicate in different ways. So for me, I might not be the best in person when it comes to meeting new people or to talking. Actually, I consider myself very socially awkward. So for those that knew me back in college or even the first few years after college, if you ever sent me an email before, you might remember that my email address was dino the snob at yahoo.com. So there. So see, that shows you that I'm a little socially awkward. Sometimes I don't know how to say hi to people. It takes effort. I mean, I put effort into it because I kind of started feeling guilty that people thought I was snobbish, but in reality, I just didn't know how to say hi or to do small talk. I think I've gotten better, but there are still some instances where I get really nervous about it. So anyway, going back, that's what I liked about it. Getting to know a person even through words, because words matter. The way you say something makes a big difference, the way you use words. And since we use messaging apps now, even the small things like emojis, it can completely change the meaning of a message. And I feel like that is, I mean, this the part in You've Got Mail where they exchange emails is still applicable today. Of course, the difference is now because of social media and I guess dating apps is how you meet new people. You already have an idea of how the person looks and all that, but you only get to know them through whatever words they say. And for me, I'm the type where I'd say communication is very important. So whether you say it in person or through words, the way you say it, again, it really matters. Okay? As I mentioned, I might not be the best when it comes to giving gifts. I try to be thoughtful. I don't know if I accomplish that, but I try to be. And one of the things I always want to do when it's a special occasion, whether it's Christmas or a birthday, is I like to write a Christmas card, whether it's my for my mom or if I'm in a relationship to my girlfriend. And okay, I'd like to think that it's a thoughtful gift because cards take effort. It's the most personal gift that anyone can give you. Yes, the card is not expensive. It's what? 35, 40 bucks, pesos, obviously. But the meaning of the words you put in it, that's the real gift. That's what really matters. Of course, I read the whatever hallmark already printed out on it, and then you just add to it because those words have to be relatable to the person who's receiving that card, who's going to read whatever you wrote. So there, I think that's what I like about You've Got Mail. Because again, I am not the smoothest guy or whatever. I like that whole thing where Tom Hanks said it's a project that needs a little tweaking, and by that he meant he wanted Meg Ryan to get to the point that she's absolutely convinced that he is the only one that she should end up with, because he knows that she has some negative feelings towards him because of the whole business thing. But if he can show her through those small dates and through his words that he's actually a good guy, and when she finds out that it's the same person, she'll realize, no matter what happened, this is the guy I want to end up with. So there. So those are some of the reasons why I like You've Got Mail. I'll probably rewatch it sometime soon. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, as I mentioned, I think it's on Netflix. So please do watch it. Or if it's not on Netflix anymore, there are other means for you to watch that movie. Okay? So there, I'm going to mass in a bit. So see you.